Right.
mean a lot to them, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
there was a number that, I mean, I have 39 that participate in ACSI art.
Right.
So even if there was an ACSI art, even if they didn't medal at ACSI, I could still give something else
Right.
during, for the ones who didn't, so.
Sure.
A lot of coordination that last week.
Yes, and I get it, especially the last couple of weeks for teachers. It's so stressful because you're trying to finish curriculum, you're trying to get grades in, you're trying to get all these things done, and it is a lot. It is a lot. End of the year party and all that, I get it. It's a lot. So we'll try to work on what's going to be the best case scenario here, but that might be a good way to do that, is hold some of those.
Yeah, just send they can put a list of who won and send it out to the
Right.
teachers, and we can mark that down.
And just have them stand and be recognized or something. I like that idea. Okay. All right, we'll keep thinking about that. At the end of last year, we talked about, for those of you who were returning teachers, we talked about doing something new this year, trying something new in your classroom. So is there anybody who tried something new that you would like to share with the group? And how did it go? It might have been good, it might have been bad. What was it?
Last summer, put a big screen on my wall,
Uh-huh.
44-inch screen. It cut down my paperwork in half because I could put the recorder music right up on it. It's just hooked to my computer, that's
Uh-huh.
all it is.
Okay.
And, but it also worked really well for like the little ones. Like if there was a thunderstorm, I could put something up real quick,
Right.
But for learning, it is so much better, especially with the older ones. We have a visual group of kids.
Sure.
And even if I only showed 2 minutes
Yes.
of something, it got them so much more into the realm of what we were doing. It was better than words for them.
Awesome. That's good. Did you try something new?
I was able to get a projector for this year, so
Okay.
I was able to do more of the discovery education. I also added in the Go Noodle as well.
Good.
But I was also able to do like some hands-on games like Jeopardy and The Price is Right and things like that. Where
Right.
we could play class review games
Uh-huh.
and divide the class into teams, and they had so much fun doing that. And
Awesome.
It was also a great review.
Very good. How many
Interesting.
of the rest of you used Go Noodle through the year? Go Noodle?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. For those of you who didn't, if you're not aware of what it is, I know we sent an email out, and it's a place where you go and you pull up little, what would you say, little short videos, and it's like, and I'll play one for you before you go because I have one queued up. But they're running in place and doing the things the kids on the screen are doing. So they're jumping, they're ducking, they're doing all kinds of stuff, which gets them up and out of their desk and moving. So especially when you have those rainy days, oh my goodness, so important to get that energy out somehow. So if you did not use Go Noodle, then let's talk about that so that you have that as an extra thing to do as a time filler, okay? Or on a rainy day. That's excellent. I'm glad you had that. Yes, ma'am.
This year on book reports, I gave kids 2 options. They could do the standard poster presentation,
Right.
or they could do, what I added in this year was they could make it a PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, uh-huh.
And so about half the kids chose to do the PowerPoint, and most of them were pretty basic, and they had a certain rubric they had to follow
Right.
for the PowerPoint. But one of them really went way beyond what I'd asked for. He added in music, he added
Awesome.
in changing illustration. I mean, it was really good.
That's excellent.
Yeah. So I kind of, some kids aren't comfortable with that, so I gave them an option of how
Right.
they want to do it. So I think sometimes giving those choices.
Sure. And that's so much better than just the standard
Yeah.
stand up and read your book report
Yeah.
thing, right? That's great. And I think any way that you can incorporate technology into your classroom, the better it's going to be. And I know we're severely limited in that area because of resources, but that is something that we're working on, trying to secure more resources so that we can have more technology and kids can be exposed to more things like that. Faulkner?
What happened in my class is that a child was diagnosed with attention deficit, and we got to experience a new way of sitting on an exercise wall,
Yes.
on the ball. He did great, fantastic. It was a
Yes.
new thing for him, and then we do Go Noodle, and we work for him. He
Yes.
did all that extra.
He did
Plus
great with
his
that.
getting used to his medication, but the ball I thought at first was going to be a distraction because of the other kids, but it was that my kids just asked what it was. I said, it's a doctor order, that's all I need to know. And he said, okay, and they deal with it. But he would move around on it, but he finished his work. So it worked really well.
And I'll agree with you. I kind of felt the same way. I thought, okay, we're going to give this kid who's hyperactive a ball to sit on. Oh my word. Okay. But it was great. And anytime I checked in on him, he was seated and he may be in the middle of doing a worksheet or doing something, and all of a sudden you see him, he'd just bounce a little bit and he'd keep working while he's bouncing, and then he'd stop. And nobody else around him seemed like they even noticed. I'm sure they just got used to it, and it really worked well for him. It was a good idea. Yes, ma'am.
And I shared this with Ms. Faulkner. I used to work at Fall Creek, and one of the teachers got a grant. It took her about 6 months to get the grant. Her whole classroom was set up like that.
Is that right?
The whole classroom, and she
Wow.
said she just, even the kids that aren't officially ADD kids benefited from it. And
Right.
then she had lots of different rugs and little cozy areas. So she got a grant. I mean, it took her a while to get it, but her whole classroom.
There's new classroom chairs now that have like springs and things on them for certain kids so that it's not as obvious. But there's all kinds of things out there. I saw some hands over here, something new you tried this year.
I incorporated Quizlet, which I know Ms. Puckett is gonna go.
Quizlet. All right. Tell us about it.
It's a little thing you can go in it, and you can do many things, but I use the flashcard when it does is you can go and put it in there, so like we did states and capitals, and it'll flash automatically the state, and then they have to say it out loud, and it'll flip the card in a time frame, so they
Awesome.
can check it, and it just goes, it just keeps going, you can flip it different ways, but they have lots of different games and stuff that you play in there.
Awesome.
I used it personally myself, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna use this for my class, and they really liked it.
So this is something they can do on their computer
They
or their
can.
iPad, or there's an
Yeah.
app or something for that?
Yes.
Okay. And how many of you are familiar with Quizlet? A couple of you? Okay.
Can I just add some information to that?
Yes.
On Quizlet, one thing that I do in class is I'll make a review list, like review sheet, and I'll go in and I'll make our review list on Quizlet, and I'll send the link home, so that they don't even have to make the cards.
Wow.
All they have to do is open up their computer, click on the link, they already have the cards, they already
Yeah,
have.
they already did.
they
That's
already have
awesome.
games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because
What a
lot of
great
people
tool.
Like, I didn't have time to make the cards. All right, fine, I'll do it for you. I can't do anything else
Right.
for you. You know what I mean?
Well, for many of you, if you haven't ever looked at Quizlet or tried it out, I know it's so hard during the school year to try and figure something out and incorporate something new. Now that it's summertime, take a little bit of time and check some of these things out so you
And
can
Quizlet is really
utilize
hard.
that. Yeah.
Spelling City too, I did that last
Spelling
year.
City.
I have that also.
But this year, I had a lot of kids that forgot their book, but because my lists were on Spelling City and I told them at the beginning, they were able to spell it.
There you go. There you go. That solves a big problem right there, doesn't
Right
it?
there, it does.
Now I know why I didn't have any kids come to me and ask me to let them in your room so they could get a book. Because it was already on there. Way to go. Way to go. Ms. Dobson?
I did something a little bit different. I read this article about recess and how schools are taking out recess and why it was so detrimental to do that. And so I tried to think of what could I do to still do all my curriculum and get them a little bit more time. So what I did was, when they would have a written assignment, like a spelling assignment or something like that that they had to do, you always have the problem with some students getting finished earlier
Right.
than others and others taking longer.
Right.
And so what I started doing, and where I am, it helped that a lot. It is that when, whatever the assignment was, when they finished it, they could walk back and forth to the dumpster.
Okay.
And because of where my desk is and where the window is, and where
Right.
the dumpster is, I could see. But even at that, I would just come to the door and prop the door open, and I would stand and watch those kids. And so one by one,
Right.
they would go, and I tell them, talk your heads off.
Yeah.
And so they would walk. Sometimes they'd go 5 or 6 times back until the last one finished. But I always allowed the last one at least one round up and back to go in. And I really was shocked.
Right.
I read the article and I read what the article said, but I was really shocked at the difference that it made in my class. And I even started, when we didn't have an assignment like that, around 9 o'clock, I would just say, go to the dump, walk back and forth to the dumpster a couple of times, and I'd stand at the door and watch them, and they would walk back and forth. And it made an incredible difference in my class, in their focus level. Even if it was only 5 or 6 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
it made a world of difference in the classroom as far as their focus was.
I made a concerted effort this year with kids, especially that are known to be ADHD or some other issues, to walk with them. Let's go walk and talk. Instead of sitting in the office and talking, let's go walk and talk. So that's why you probably saw me out walking a lot with a kid, because I found that they were more comfortable and they would open up more and they would talk more and tell me about what was really bothering them. And it really seemed to help some of them a lot. And I read a study about a school in our area that works with special needs kids, and it's very highly acclaimed. And what they do is the kids, especially all these students that have these different special needs, come and they give them PE like first thing in the morning. They come and they start running, and they're required by the end of the year to run a mile. And they have to do certain things along the way, and it made all the difference in their academics, because they got them out and got them moving. But in today's society, we hear in public schools a lot, because of funding cuts and things like that, they just don't get time to go out and play very much. So, and that's how we see our PE guys. You guys are so vital for these kids. It's not just time to get them out of the class, but it's a time for some of these kids, they need that. They need that stimulation and get the right left brain thing going on and all that. That's gonna help them in the classroom, okay? Yes, ma'am.
One of the biggest things I heard this year, and I hear it every year, but it seemed like it was always coming at me, is kids having to miss their recess for discipline or whatever. And I know you've got to discipline in some way, but again, parents' thing is, well, don't they realize they're cutting off their nose to spite their face? Because usually that child that's getting that discipline is the one that's having to stand on the wall, is the one that really needs to be running and playing and getting that out and stuff. But just the fact that, having to give up recess, and particularly on rainy days, that they can jump silently in the classroom or some sort of physical thing, I think parents will be a lot happier. I think, like as Sherry said, you will be a lot happier. You will see the benefits of that exercise.
And that is why we don't take full recess away. We may take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes off, which is half, so they still have 15 minutes for that very reason. Because they do need to play, they do need to run, they do need to go out and do those things. That's why this year we made sure that nobody lost an entire recess. They did lose sometimes. Yes, I saw a hand.
I know we're talking about what y'all are trying to incorporate, but what I did for a couple of my kids, I gave them the option, as long as they didn't play, to get up and move to the floor even, and take their work, and if they need to there's some of those kids that they just can't sit
Right.
in a standard chair and table, and they did so much better. And it sounds like, they're laying down. It's just, but they got their work done. And a few of them would say, I need to be able to concentrate. Can I go move over here? Yes, and I set up rules, and they did so much better being able to get up and move and not sit in your standard chair and table.
Okay.
So,
PE, did you guys try anything new this year? I know you were new this year, but you were not. So did y'all try anything new this year that worked or that maybe didn't, or something that you would want to see? Uh-huh. Right. Okay. And PE, I know when it's raining, it's really hard for you guys. And you're usually stuffed in that little room in there, right? So did you guys ever use Go Noodle or anything like that to help you? Or what did you do in case of rain or whatever?
We did movies, we try not to make it like a...
Right.
But we did,
Right, sometimes you have to.
like keep yourself from being bad. And just, because our thing was, they sit down all day, they come to us once a week. We're not trying to tell y'all to come in.
Right.
Not do that. We want you to have fun. So that's what we try to do. Like I said, we did my beach field, that was like the best not amazing so far. They enjoyed the dance, they enjoyed just being up moving around.
Right.
We did the 7th and 8th graders, we incorporated. We tried to instill the family mindset.
Yes.
But they had to leave, work out, and come back all together as one.
Oh,
Nobody
that's
can come
good.
back by themselves.
Uh-huh.
We did, we had like random days, we would sit down and talk about, okay, how you gonna
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what, what description we would do different stuff like that. We would, we have kids at the same time. We would just install like the little kids, especially counting, just hearing counting.
Right.
We would say stuff like for jumping jacks. I need 7 plus 3 jumping jacks. Make them count.
There you go. That's good.
So we did stuff like that.
And those are things that do promote learning, and we need as much of that as possible, especially with the younger students, because they utilize that, and some of them, they are better at learning maybe kinesthetically or tactily, and that helps them better. So that's great. That's great. Art, anything you tried new this year? Yes. You did have a different year. Bless your heart.
No, but I was gonna say, if there's anything in class that y'all need done, or if you're studying a certain thing, let me know, because I can come up with it in my class.
Good.
Especially like once ACSI is over, or even for that, if there is something that you need painted or done that you don't wanna do in class, I can do it in my class, because I have those supplies. So if there's, for history, if they need something drawn for a notebook, or anything like that, I can do it in my class if it's something that, like Texas history notebook, if there's certain things that I know ahead of time, I can go ahead and research it, have it done, and then incorporate it with what y'all are doing.
Right, that's
So,
excellent. Okay.
That way it's helping us both out.
How did we do with moving to and from specials? Were we on time? Was that a struggle? Is there something we need to work on there, or did that go okay for you guys?
The only, I don't say an issue, but when we had first grade, they ended at 10 and they started Spanish at 10.
Oh, okay.
So that was the.
Yeah, and on mine too, I have certain classes that they start and end at the same time. So like 4th grade, 5th and 6th wasn't an issue because I only had one class.
Right.
But if I'm painting, I can't clean everything up and put everything out at the same time.
Right.
So I hate to
Gotta
have
have
kids
that 5
standing
minutes
out
in
in the
between.
hallway because they're loud and disruptive. But then I know people have to go to lunch. I mean, there's a schedule, but I need at least 5 minutes or so because I can't have it in, I can't clean everything and put it all out at the same time. So that means somebody would either have to go back early or come in late
Right.
in order for me to do that.
Okay, understand. Yes, ma'am.
And for some reason, some classes were on a different clock, and I ended up just, for some classes, I ended up, instead of having them for the 40 minutes that I needed them, I got them for less than 30.
Oh, wow.
And it gets really frustrating because I couldn't do everything.
Well, all the more reason why we need to make sure that we synchronize our clocks and watches together by that one that's in Darlene's office, which is synchronized from the cell phone clock.
But it could be at the same time, one class leaves and one class starts. And then here's the issue, is it the time when they're in the special, or is it the time they leave the classroom? That's another issue.
Right, okay, well then that's something that we need to talk about. Okay, all right. So the starting and stopping time seems to be the issues.
What we did for first grade with PE, because mine stopped at 10 and started at 10,
Uh-huh.
after they came in for restrooms, instead of dropping them off at my door, they just took them straight to the next special.
Oh, okay.
So we kind of made that work.
Okay, so take them from one to the next.
They just dropped them off.
I got you,
You know,
okay.
Ms. Bettis, because you've done a schedule, the age-old problem is when you've got teachers that are teaching high school and elementary, and people that
All levels.
don't work every day,
Right.
and it, yeah.
It's difficult, I understand. We can narrow it down and get better, but it's never gonna be a perfect world. We know that. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, but along the same line, when my kids were dismissed from one class, and they had to walk through, the high schoolers were in the locker area as well, and they had to maneuver, and I had some little
Mhm.
that I was afraid, because the big kids are just about doing this.
Oh, sure.
You know, and they're not paying attention, and here comes this little tiny one, and whack with a laugh at our book.
Right.
So we had to either pick them up a little bit later or and adjust our time.
Right.
It wasn't a big deal.
Right.
But that could be a problem.
So when we make schedules for the specials, we need to keep in mind the high school
The high
special
school.
schedule for down there. And again, if we get classrooms in the gym and that works out, it may not be as big of an issue this time.